Treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome once again to our weekly podcast. We come to you live every Wednesday evening. I am G. Michael Reed and I am in Belize City. CY in New York City, pressing the switches and making sure everything runs smoothly. The producer of the show, we want to say thanks, CY, for all that you do. Each week we try to bring you interesting conversation. We have no agendas, we have no axe to grind, no sacred cow. All we try to do is get the information up. CY, kill our music in the background for please when you get a chance.
If I'm a snake, then call me a black mamba. Apex predator.
CY.
Treat me like a barracuda from outer Belize water.
All right. Raining outside, stormy weather, and we are joined this evening by a special guest, a man who has earned my respect. For many, many years, I've known Mr. Paul Rodriguez, and I find him to be a stellar public servant, a man of the people. Sir, good evening, Mr. Paul. How are you doing?
Hi, G. Michael. Boy, I hope I got a chance to tell you how I was introduced to podcasts. But I never thought I'd be in one with you, G. Michael. I never thought so. But I've been following podcasts from about January of this year, boy. I guess who introduced me to it. No, I don't mean like how you introduced me to it. You know the name Vivek Ramaswamy?
I know, you know, ring a bell.
Man, that's a big man. That's a big man in the new Trump government.
Oh, what do you think about Trump? First of all,
I'll tell you that up until election day, friends and relatives would ask me, what do you think about the election? Who will win? And unfailingly, I kept on saying, Trump will win by a massive landslide.
Wow.
Even my relative, my Lee brother, whether that's stateside, and other Lee brother, whether I believe, I tell him, boy, here we are to tell you, Trump will win by a massive landslide victory. The only thing I never foresee that he would win the popular vote, but everything else.
He win everything?
Everything. They win the popular votes by millions of votes.
Do you believe that the better candidate won?
Definitely. Oh, I don't got no doubt about that. Oh, by far.
But why you never like Kamala?
Well, to me, she was a lady of no substance whatsoever.
Boy, you echo my sentiments. Yeah.
She had nothing to tell me, which to me made sense, right?
Yeah.
First of all, to me, that common sense. I don't know American. I never have anything to gain from that.
Correct.
But when I see the two programs and there's no comparison. I mean, one person was completely in tune with what is happening in America and in tune with what is happening in little places like Little Belize. In Little Belize, as in America, there's an effort going on to paganize our society, to paganize our civilization. G. Michael, you know me, boy. I don't wear religion on the sleeve. But if you ever ask me, boy, you believe in God? I tell you, look, boy, me a true born Catholic from a barn. And even when I left the Jesuits, I was a Jesuit seminarian. The thought of being anything else but Catholic never came to my mind.
Let me we talk about jumping right out from the gate. We're right into it. But let's talk about you, Paul Rodriguez, first before we go any further. Because you've done a lot of work. You've anybody in Belize, I imagine I could say over the age of 40 would have to know Paul Rodriguez. You were the first ombudsman, correct?
Right.
And did a stellar. That I don't know if I've seen anybody take so much interest and put so much effort into a job as you did, Mr. Paul. I remember seeing your yearly reports come out, everything in there covered in detail. You were there at the office on Douglas Jones Street, and you were seeing people, listening to complaints. You put a lot into it. You ever a mayor? Weren't you a mayor one time too?
Yes, man. I was mayor for 6 years. Mayor of Belize City for 6 years, from 1974 to 1980. And
Wow.
I tell you, it reminded me. I saw a picture of a football team, and one of the persons in that team was um, Mr. the Honorable, Right Honorable Said Musa. And both, I leave it both. The second city council elections, man, the one guy when he Paul Rodriguez stopped the polls and he beat all of them big people like Said Musa by hundreds of votes.
I,
Hundreds of votes.
I'm
No, no,
looking. Yeah.
not two or three, but hundreds of votes, right? It included Said and um, people like Evan Hyde, people
Good.
like uh, Lois Young,
Wow.
Senior York, Leroy Tega. I mean, um, I still feel very proud of that accomplishment. But
These were people that you went up against that were running on that slate.
they were running against me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Against me. They
Yeah.
part of the dynamic nine I was naming to you, right? And boy, I
Um.
bust them bad. But
But
anyhow, you
then,
notice, well, two of the men who were in that election became prime minister. Said, one of them, right? And then
yeah.
Manuel Esquivel, who was on my team, became prime minister too. So um, I um, lose the breath of championship here and rather quickly. And, I did other things in my life. In 1980, I kind of left. No, and I'll never leave politics till about 85, 86, right? I got completely turned off by the performance of the party that I helped to form.
You did help to form the UDP, correct?
Yes, Mamita, one of the co-founders.
And
The founders were Philip Coulson, Dean Lindo, um, Harry Lawrence was the main founder of the UDP. One day he and Ned Vasquez and Carl Thompson was a founder, so came to me and they said, why with the farm, we want to farm this Liberal Party for start um, one movement towards uniting all the opposition parties, you know. So Harry Lawrence had that idea, and he came to me, and I bought it. At the time, I think I was editor of the Reporter. I think that around 1968, 67, thereabouts, right? 68, and we formed them. Yeah. So Harry spoke to the big guys. Phil Gosler was in London at the time. So Bunting Fuller was his substitute, right? And Bunting, and we even attracted a reverend gentleman, Reverend Gerald Fairweather, who was who was the chairman of our meetings for several years until we formed we proclaimed the existence of the party on August the 23rd, 1973, right? United Democratic Party. Yeah? So, um, and it's amazing, but the UDP up until um, Mr. Musa's government took over in 2020, they had won more national elections than the PUP won during the independence era. So
uh-huh.
The UDP has become a very forceful political force in Belize. It's dropped off, it's a problem. I think one of the problems of
How do you
go ahead.
how you see them now? I mean, because they're in turmoil,
Yes, yes.
disarray. Uh,
Well, one of the things they need to do is, to the leaders need to sit back and they need to eat a little humble pie and learn to work with each other towards furthering a goal that is in the interest of the nation and of the people rather than purely personal um,
Agendas, yeah.
personal desire for power. So
Oh
I
man.
think that is well with young ambitious people. It's a
But
disease that can be cured, should be cured, but they need to eat humble pie and start realize, look, man, and we need to get more people to share our vision, but sharing of vision is you got to move around with people, talk with people, go to people, be confident enough to look people in the eye and say, look, man, this is what I believe in. I would like to see what you think about this idea that I have. But I'm judging from the last election. Nobody came to me. I live in the Mesopotamia division. Nobody came to me to ask me to vote. I have said it plainly, and I repeat it again on this podcast. I will never vote for a man or a woman who does not have the self-confidence to look me in the eye and ask me to vote for him or her. That's what I did in my days, You go on to talk to the biggest people.
but we're talking about politics in your day and politics today.
Yeah.
But what has changed with politicians? Because in your day, and you weren't getting the kind of money these guys get, even in salary, much less perks, and
Yeah.
and certainly not the perks that they get. But what changed? Was it just an ego thing, or do they just don't care anymore?
Well, one of the things, G. Michael, I'll tell you, and this is not self-serving because we don't got nothing that I want to run for or that I aspire to do. But it's, you have to be genuine. You have to be authentic. You have to really, when you talk to a person about national aims and national goals and so, then people have to look into your eyes and see that you mean what you're saying, that for you, the interest of the country comes way before your personal ambitions. And I think there's a grave and great misunderstanding in the spirit of politics today, where young people want to go into politics because that's where you get rich.
Yeah.
And one or two of my friends, even relatives, they regard me as a fool because I'm not rich. Huh?
Well, they will tell you. They will
I'm
tell you.
living off a pension.
Yeah. They will tell you also that you have to have money to run for office, because you have to give the people money to. Was that practice always there, or did that come later on?
No, that's something that has been added to our political baggage, right? It wasn't so at first. I mean, the old founders of the UDP, they gave $1 here and $1 there, but there wasn't a case of buying a fridge for a person or buying a boat for a person or a car. Recently, well, a couple of years ago, one politician excused and justified his dealings with somebody abroad by saying, look, I had to do it because I have people who come to me who want me to pay their electricity bill and buy their fridge. And that wasn't the case in my day. And certainly, I never bought anybody a fridge. I did give a person who helped me a fridge, but it was a used fridge, which I had when I bought a new one. This was after
And
after I had left politics.
it wasn't buying a vote. It wasn't in exchange for a vote,
No,
right?
no, never.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've given a lot of people a lot of things. I've seen your philanthropy over the years, and I admire it. I miss the times we used to stand in at that shop and talk for hours. I've known you for a while, and again, I admire you a lot. And I really think that if we had politicians after your mold, now we'd be doing much better than we are. You switch parties at some point, didn't you? You decide, well, all right, I don't want the UDP anymore. I think the PUP are the better party. Is that correct?
In 1984, I think it was, I became disillusioned about the leadership of the UDP because I saw that the party was not acting according to what I believe was the best way. You know, you don't abandon old friends who help you to get into power and tell them when they come to visit you at your gate.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want you to visit me. Come to my office in Belmopan, you know. That sort of thing was what the UDP leaders did when they were in power. That is
so you mean the change came after they won the election, because they won the election in 1984, and then that you saw a change in them immediately.
Yes, I that's when I changed.
Power corrupts, Mr. Paul. Power corrupts.
Yeah, it looks so good.
But did you officially hand in your card, or did you say, well, you know, just now vote for this party again, and kept your vote quiet?
At first,
silent?
I criticized them to my friends, very close friends, but afterwards, I actually joined that campaign in helping. I think it was the fellow who ran in the division with them. Let's see. Here's what's his name again? He was.
What division was it?
The
Queen Square?
No. One of the North Side divisions, not Freetown. The other one that
Caribbean Shores.
Caribbean Shores. That's his name. This guy was he was a civil servant. He was in the customs department. Joe Coyman.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Are you and Joe friends?
I haven't seen him in years now.
You should. You would have seen him tonight, but he still might be on, because he's one of the co-hosts on the show, so he should be on before it's over. And I think he'll be thrilled to see you.
We lost contact, right? He became very busy because after serving as minister, you know, he went into business, and we never.
You never kept in touch, no?
Yeah, we never kept in touch. But,
you and Harry Lawrence are good friends, correct?
Harry is my best friend.
Two
people who are somewhat culturally different from me, Harry Lawrence and C.B. Hyde. These are the two guys who have been my best friends in life, right? And they are guys who I trust, whom I have liked, who haven't changed. Well, CB is dead now, as you know. He died
unfortunately.
a couple of years ago at the age of 100 and almost 101.
Amazing.
So,
well, you look for reach there directly, Mr. Paul. You're up there yourself. I don't want to reveal your age in case any young girls watching might get discouraged.
You know, my time. I like to be authentic. I tell people I'll be 87 in February of this year.
My goodness.
87. With me, what you see is what you get.
Indeed.
And no pretension.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now, tell me something. Were you a part of the people? Did you have any hand in the forming of the Constitution, in the writing? Because we,
In the first
now
constitution, no, I
when
didn't.
they're talking about reforming the Constitution now, any thoughts on it?
Oh yes, yeah. Oh.
You
And that is why my experience as I traveled to other parts of the world was that everybody was talking about rights,
uh-huh.
especially in Belize and the Caribbean. Everybody was talking about rights. Nobody was talking about duties and responsibilities. And
Right.
Michael, let me tell you, when I became ombudsman, the first thing I did was look up the Declaration of Rights, the Human Rights Declaration of Rights. But I looked and I looked and I looked and I searched for the concomitant duties and responsibilities of rights. Nowhere,
It's not written in there.
one, nowhere in there and nowhere anywhere.
But they can't guarantee that, Mr. Paul. They can't guarantee that. They could guarantee the rights, but the responsibilities come from the electorate, from the people.
That's a good insight, and it's true. But I attended a conference, I think it was in Barbados, Caribbean Conference of Ombudsman. The speaker, the main speaker, Chavans, and I was anxious to hear what he had to say for mostly two reasons. One reason, Chavans is a surname, a title, with which I'm very familiar with because one of my wife's family relations is Chavans, right? And the next reason was this guy who was going to talk was a former, an ex-Jesuit seminarian. Anyhow, he talked and he gave a good speech, good applause afterwards. But at the end, I was expecting, that he would say something about duties and responsibility. You see, I have always thought, and I still do, and I think it's the truth, that rights are an aspect, are a division, or the virtue of justice. And as you know, justice is a two-edged sword. There is your right, what belongs to you, what should come to you, but there's also the other edge of the sword is your respect of the other person. So justice is for you and it's for the other person, your neighbor. And I never saw that anywhere in human rights talk, wherever I went. So in Barbados, after the speech, I looked at my friend who was an ex-ombudsman himself, served 2 terms, and I asked him, and he was professor of law at UWI. I said, man, when are we going to talk about duties and responsibilities? He said, man, we are not. Let others talk about that. I said, what? I never said anything else, but that was my experience. Everybody was talking about my rights. Nobody was talking about my duties and responsibilities to the other. This is why I asked my daughter to send this paragraph, because the place where I found the true message of human rights was the Constitution of Little Belize. Little Belize Constitution. In chapter 2, lays out clearly that rights have concomitant duties and responsibilities. And here in this paragraph that I asked you to print out is where it expressed this idea clear and simple. You can't miss that message.
Is that the one?
Read it for me.
The provisions of this chapter shall have effect for the purpose of affording protection to those rights and freedoms subject to such limitations of that protection as are contained in these provisions, being limitations designed to ensure that the enjoyment of the said rights and freedoms by any person does not prejudice the rights and freedom of others or the public interest.
Thank you very much. You read it very well, MG Michael. And I insist on this reading of that paragraph because we are involved in the formation, in the review of our old constitution. We want a new constitution. And I think that it is proper to sound a caution to our
reframers, if you will.
Respectfully, I do it to our esteemed homosexual brothers and sisters. They talk, at least the more aggressive ones. All they do is talk about their rights. They don't talk about their duties and responsibilities to make sure that people who embrace their behavior of life respect the other person who may not be gay. And not only that, who will insist, my brother, my sister, you may try to influence your children or the people who depend on you, but don't mess with my children. And I noticed that there has been an effort in Belize to mess with my children and my idea of what sexuality really means.
Is it clearly defined in the religious text and in the Constitution as to what? Because there are people who thinks that they should have the right, and you speak of right, to decide which one they want to be. How do you feel about that?
Well, I have no problem with that, Michael. And I want to point out that when I was a boy man, I knew who the chief, the head honcho of homosexuals was in Belize. It's a guy we call Nides, probably Leonidas. Nides, right? And there was no problems. When people a few decades ago were talking about hatred of homosexuals, and it's strange to me, man. We never hated anybody because of their sexual orientation. That's not Belize. We are people who respect the sexual expressions of other people, even when we don't agree with it. We will tell you if you ask me, look, I don't agree with that behavior, that sexual behavior, but I can do nothing to stop that person from expressing himself sexually as he or she wishes. But don't try to impose it on me. Don't try to indoctrinate my children. Because if you do, then I will have to talk against you. I will have to, I will have to work against you.
Let me ask you a loaded question here, though. How would you feel? I know that your children did not turn out that way, but had you found out that one of your children were a homosexual, how would you have handled that then?
Well, I would have been kind and still love my son or my daughter, but I would try to guide him or her in the right path, because first of all, my religious orientation comes into this. Now, I believe that the sexual expression is guided or should be guided by the natural moral law and by the commandments of God. And I think in my reading of the Bible and so on, the Bible is clearly against homosexual behavior, and natural law is against homosexual behavior, because sexual expression is not only for feel good for the persons participating, but it's for the procreation of children. And two persons of the same sex have never, can never, will never procreate. And that's the purpose, according to natural law, for sexual expression.
No.
So, but I believe that in everything that we do, all citizens, if you want to be a good citizen, you respect and try to love other people.
All right, but you will love a sinner, but is it a sin?
Homosexual expression, yes. To me,
Okay.
it's a sin. I believe the commandments of God tell me, and natural law tells me that it is not good, not
Yeah.
conducive to the best form of life.
But Mr. Paul, there are times you've seen some children and you see they would call it cut at the jib. You see there's a femininity in them. Don't you think that some boys are made with a little more feminine hormones, and that it's their natural course to go that way, and would be unhappy in a man and woman kind of situation, no?
Possibly, G. Michael, but if I had such a person under my care, I would still try to get that person respectfully, get that imaginatively, constructively, get that person to be the gender that what is between his or her legs force him or her to be. And it's hard to argue against um, your physiology, your body. And to me, well, first of all, you might I tell you that some people point to this fact, right, of the feminine appearance of a male person, or vice versa. To me, it's a behavior that is learned, and unfortunately, I think very often, most often, it's a responsible person in the family, maybe sometimes even the father, who brings a boy, introduces a boy into sexual behavior. I believe that. I mean, I don't know that I can say that that's scientific, right? But that's what I believe. And
Interesting. Uh, one tough topic, and certainly a politician won't get many votes tackling it because it seems to have grown out of hand. I mean, it seems to be many. Do you think there are more now, or are they just coming out the closet more?
I think there are more now, but I think also there's a certain amount of coming out of the closet. But I think the vast majority of people are like you and me, normal. We're straight.
Yeah.
The vast majority.
Well, let us hope, because that's how the species will continue and go on. No, you're absolutely right. One of our duties is to procreate and carry on the species of life. Tell me, Sonny, while we talk about that, because I saw Elon Musk, and you talk about the Trump cabinet, so I know you're familiar with Elon Musk, talking about going to Mars and colonizing Mars. What is your thoughts on that? What is it okay?
Of course, if you can do it, but I don't want you, Michael, think that happen no within my lifetime or your lifetime, if it happens ever at all. But I mean, Elon Musk, that's something else, man. That guy is, well, first of all, he's the richest man in the world.
But is that to be admired?
Well, yes, because if you are very rich and you help other people, God never said it's a curse to have wealth, It's a curse to have wealth if you don't share it. And that's why I think capitalism is the best form of government for people right now because the capitalist wants to make a profit, wants to become rich, and in the experience, in our Western experience, and these capitalists share. It's amazing, but check it out. I mean, the
But many
American,
don't.
huh?
Many don't, Mr. Paul. Many
Oh
are
yes,
just
yeah,
consumed with
yeah,
their greed,
yeah,
and they get their riches and hang on to it.
yeah, true, true,
I
yeah,
mean, if you talk about a man like Elon Musk going towards $1 trillion, which are more money than I could even imagine and count, and then you have,
can
and
you
then you
write?
have, yeah, or even right, but then you have so many people in poverty, abject poverty, on the streets. You can walk on the streets and you see people, and granted that some of them, they're not poverty that has them, they have mental conditions, but a lot of times that the poverty drives them to that situation. Yeah, and I don't know. Shouldn't more be done to help these people?
Of course, yeah, and the thing is, in my life, I have known one or two people who were very rich for belief, but they share their wealth, man. They do things that help a lot of people. And, I think that throughout the world, you have a lot of people like that. Elon Musk is working in the cabinet of Trump to improve the economic practices of the government of um, the United States of America. And he has Ramaswamy, Vivek Ramaswamy, working with him too. They want to cut excessive waste spending in the U.S. budget. And I know the U.S., the fact is, the U.S. is not a perfect country. No government, nobody in this world is perfect, Michael. But I think that in the history of humanity, America is a country that has done the most to help the poor. I mean, this is a matter of record. And after them, Britain with all its faults, man. I mean, we are the country we are because at one time we were British. That's not to say that we might not have been better if we had grown up to be independent at the very beginning. I'm not arguing that, but I'd say that has been our experience. And we are a um, pretty good people now because we had the experience of British colonialism.
But
Colonialism in any form is not perfect. But
it's not.
also it is to be noted that we weren't conquered, We we passed a resolution in our Bayman Council to ask Britain to make us a colony. We weren't forced into colonization.
But it depends on who you're speaking for, because first of all, the blacks were conquered because they were brought as slaves. The
Yeah.
indigenous people were conquered because they were driven out. There was lots of fighting and whatnot. Marcus Canol and those guys up north, and when Segway head directly into the whole indigenous Mayan movement down south. But to say we weren't colonization, you make it sound like it's not a bad thing, Mr. Paul.
No. Well, if I did, I don't mean that at all. Colonization is bad, but it depends on what kind of colonization and how the colonizers behave towards the colonized. But I think it's fruitless, G. Michael, to look at history and condemn this one and condemn that one. I think there's a lot for all of us to learn, including colonizers and colonized, about our history. I mean, this thing that was going on up until recently in America, destroying this statue and breaking up this relic. I mean, to me, that's foolish. Historically, that's crazy. I mean, history should teach us, and we need history to teach us what we have been, and those who are wise among us, out of that experience, we develop what could be higher principles and a more perfect society. Not that any society in on this land will ever be perfect.
Speaking of history, well, how do you feel about the move to rename the streets to remove our colonial past? And as far as that, like Regent Street, we know was renamed. A couple of the other streets. Did you have any thoughts on that? Any part in that?
I may not lose any interest over calling Regent Street and George Price Avenue or whatever. I mean, anything. But I think
But then erased with history.
that's the important thing. Look, man, a very important industry that we have today in Belize is tourism. And tourism is going to get bigger and bigger in Belize, because we have a beautiful country and we have beautiful people, and our people are beautiful because, look, man, I noticed one of the universities that teach, and they have advertised it, and they teach Garifuna now. I think we have to teach all the languages of Belize. Well, not all, but certainly we have to teach Maya, we have to teach Creole at the university level too, and of course Garifuna. Recently, I talked to my wife and my daughter and my grandchildren quite a bit. I always talk Creole because I tell them, look, man. Anyhow, I was talking to my wife and I call her Pet. And listen to this tune like this. He said, "Pa, Pet, the toad first wife."
I hear that already. What do you mean by that?
I just lit up. I said, what? Man, what a saying. What wisdom. Pet the toad first wife. See, G. Michael, Creole full of wisdom like that, You ever hear about hurry, get it tomorrow. Take your time, get it today. I mean, that is so true.
Makes a lot of sense.
Creole got a lot of things like that. But I don't know all of them, but talk to one lady like Miss Herrera, Yvette Herrera. I think we'll call her Miss Woods, probably know a lot of, but
Sir Calvin Young. Sir Calvin. Yeah.
But I tell you something, when people, especially, not now, but past 20, 30 years, when they see me, they talk to me in Spanish and think Spanish is my first language. I tell them, no, man, me talk Creole is my first language. I was born in Wagnaslane, G. Michael, and Wagnaslane, every family except one other family. There were two non-Creole families in that area, Wagnaslane. And I think one of the Auha relatives lived at the corner of Wagnaslane and South Street, right? But the songs I heard when I was born and way into my youth were Creole songs. Man, good morning, how are you going? Now we are named. But when my grandfather used to come to Belize City to visit his daughters, he would come first to our house and to his daughter Fanny, and he would come so that I would accompany him to my aunt's, right? Anyhow, he would talk to me in Spanish, and I would answer in Creole, and he would pull my hair. In other words, later on I said, the man was trying to tell me, look, talk your own language. But I was talking my own language, Creole is my language. So, mind you, I've learned to talk English respectably. I lived in America in the Midwest for 7-8 years, and, I learned pretty good American, But Creole is my first language, man.
Yeah, Miss Woods and Miss Andrea Rodriguez, you said. Andrea.
No. Yvette Herrera.
Okay.
Yvette was one of the translators of the Bible into Creole. As a matter of fact, when they were doing that job, they invited me to be a part of the panel of translators. I said, man, really, I would love to, but I don't think I am experienced enough, good enough in the Creole language to do it. You know, but I consider people like Yvette far better Creole speakers.
But
And certainly Miss Uds.
yeah, but she's done a lot of work in that area. But how are we going to standardize the Creole language when a lot of we talk it different? We got different. I mean, some people say the worse you talk it, the better they talk. So where you
I
do
like
we
that. You like that.
yeah, we standardize.
Well, no, you see, once you study a language, especially at the university level, you start to analyze it and form a grammar. That is the important thing. Once you get a grammar into the language, you know, it will become more standardized. But when you put in the grammar, that means that the language has to lose its original kick, its original charm. We want Creole to retain its charm. It's a charming language, and we should keep it because it makes us distinctive. We are special, and
But
that's what
you not think that
that's what the
more
tourist industry wants.
you not think that more written one oral language, one spoken thing as opposed to a written thing, and that's the way to get that because me and you talk and when we talk, we understand one another clearly. But to write it down and put, I think it kind of like well, we have to get somebody. We'll call anything we put over the e when in a Spanish. Because we got some shot.
Tilde,
Tilde,
yeah, and the accent. See, that's inevitable. But make we do it because it will add to our national wisdom, and it will give us some more wisdom about ourselves. I mean, it's good for people to know that they have their own language and that language is appreciated and cherished by the rest of humanity. And, you know, I don't know Arabic well, I wish I did. I don't know Chinese, I wish I did, or Japanese, but I wish I did, you know. But let me tell you, to me, the most beautiful language that I've ever read, that I've ever studied, is ancient Greek. And I had the great pleasure of reading some of the greatest works of literature ever written. The Iliad and the Odyssey, which I read and studied in the original ancient Greek language. What a beautiful language. Poetic, very poetic. But you know, man, I'm also very grateful that I have read many of Shakespeare's works. Shakespeare is a great writer, man. A guy is genius at multi levels. But you know, I mean, maybe one of these days, I told me some now, G. Michael, man, but my grandson's age will be reading your works in Creole. Who knows? That's the beauty of the written language, that it perdures, it lasts.
You named a couple of big authors, and you've done a lot of writing yourself. And I've read many of your articles. Have any of these guys influenced your thinking or your writing style to any degree?
I would say so, but writing is a very personal, very, very authentic thing, you know. G. Michael. I often think to myself, no, maybe I've said to one or two friends, man, at university I should have majored in philosophy. I'm a natural born philosopher. I tell you, a lot of Creole are. We common sense, we call it common sense, but common sense, the philosophy, you know. We are great philosophers, and so most of my writings have been tended to be philosophical, right? So I don't know if I would qualify as a good writer or an interesting writer, but certainly I could write a little dissertation on an idea and a subject comfortably well, easily.
Yeah.
But I've never considered that is my main accomplishment. I think that the main accomplishment of my life is myself. And I consider that of you too, G. Michael, but
Yeah.
you yourself have written impressively when you have written in newspapers,
We're
And
coming
I
from you.
think
That's a compliment. Miss Deidre Gillett wants to know, and you spoke about this before. Were you editor of the Reporter? You edited the Reporter for a number of years, correct?
two or three, I was the
Okay.
first one. I was the first editor.
When the Reporter started, you remember what year it came out? You remember
What
what
day?
year?
It used,
Uh,
yeah, I think it was 1968 or 69. I don't remember, but that information can be obtained easily because Mr. Lawrence has um, Harry Lawrence, not the editor,
Right.
the publisher of the Reporter now, has files.
Yeah.
He even has files of a new sheet that I put out when I was the liberal, when I was in politics, right?
I'll give you,
So,
I'll give you a funny story because I wrote for Reporter a couple of years.
yeah.
But they had a girl there. She was a white girl. I think it might have been from one of the Australia or somewhere. But there was something. She was a staunch feminist, and at those times, I shared some views like you share now. And I think she would sabotage my articles because I took time in making sure my grammars and everything was correct. And when I read it, the paper, man, there were typos all the way down. And it was tough for me to even get the sense of what I was writing. And I got discouraged after a while. And I think that is why I stopped writing
Mm.
for that because there's nothing like somebody messing with your script, your writing. You know what I'm saying? Do you know Mr. Bennett Clark? Bennett Clark?
No,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
yeah,
remember the name. No,
yeah. The name don't ring a bell to me either. And somebody was typing up one, and if you did, Mr. Paul, how do you feel about the future, the young people?
um, G. Michael, I'm glad you asked me that question because I needed to say something that really I thought most important that should be should be said, especially during this time when we're still working on the new Belize Constitution, and that is that there is no absolute right except one. There is one absolute right, and that is freedom of conscience. And we have to take this right seriously because without this right, the coexistence of secular society and religious society is not possible. If you say that once you accept freedom of conscience as the absolute right, that means that a person who does not believe in God can tell you, Mr. Reed, look, man, me not believe in this God thing. I not believe in no abortion because, man, look, what I am living right now is the end all and be all of my existence. There's no God. So you see, if a person does not believe in God, you can't impose natural law or any commandments on that person. You have to accept that person as he or she is. And you know what? The amazing thing, D. Michael, is that God Himself accepts that position for us. God not force nobody to believe in I. Nobody. In the beginning, He could have tell Adam and Eve, look, And me make uno and the way I say. He didn't. He put them in the garden and he left them in the garden and then do Eve the way he wanted Adam, and that's it. And here we are. We're still here. We have to learn to coexist with people who think differently, who are culturally different. We have to really start practice charity. Charity, when you accept a person may be very different from you, different color, different speech, different looks, different beliefs. So there's only one absolute right, G. Michael: freedom of conscience.
Yeah, and I want to go and leave more in depth into that, because when you say freedom of conscience, is that you have the right to what? Do what you want to do. Because if a person has a conscience, and you will say, "Oh, you got a guilty conscience," but you many times you can justify what we do in different ways. But does that do you have a right to do it then, just because you can justify it?
No, because society won't allow you to do that. Secular society has to have rules of protecting the society too. So all the other rights and obligations and duties will apply to everybody also. But among the rights should be freedom of conscience. And
Is that anything like free will?
Well, yeah, kind of. It's related to free will, because you have to have free will to exercise your freedom of conscience of what you think. It's necessary for a pluralistic society to accept the concept of freedom of conscience, because a pluralistic society, some people may want to believe this, some people believe that, some people not believe at all and just live from day to day, and if you want to live in peace with those people, but those people, when they believe exactly, they have to obey most of the laws that bind everybody. The other rights bind everybody. You cannot kill people.
Yeah.
You cannot steal, but I think freedom of conscience is important for people who do not believe like you and I believe in God.
Yeah. Did you ever think about becoming a priest? Did you ever study?
I studied to be a priest for 8 years.
Wow.
No, I wasn't. I didn't think I was called to the priesthood, so I left. I did.
Your conscience did not take you there.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. Listen, we're then midway in a show, and take a couple of minutes to make you catch your breath a little bit and get your thoughts, and then we'll come back. See why you're today? Give me a little break. If our producer is there, just want. If not, we just we're okay. I just want to give you a break for all right. Catch your break. And all right, let's take this time for remind people that we're having a Christmas party in the Charlie Burton Park. Have you passed by the park, Mr. Paul? You don't have to make them drive you by.
Yeah. One of these days. You know what happened to me? A few months ago, I fell and broke my hip bone, right? So I've been home since then, right? So,
yeah. How are you doing now, though? How are you coming along?
Well, I'm doing well, man. I'm moving around quite a bit. I know, I'll be like before, G. Michael. Don't make anybody fool you. Once you get my injury like that, it takes your life for a long time.
In particular at your age, yeah.
It is. I don't complain, boy. And look, me not upbeat person. Me no sorry, regret. No, man, me don't waste my time.
Yeah. And throw your burdens on yeah. Very well. Yeah. So we got two things we want to remind people about. The party in the park that for the 22nd of December, the Sunday before Christmas. And then they put up the Red Affair again. The night there's a night to remember gala Red Affair. This is December the 14th. And this one, of course, for the Diabetes Foundation. I believe that last week when Vanessa was on, she reminded us they also now do stroke and heart. So and Mr. Paul, I know you broke your hip, but there are a lot of people who are coming down with stroke and different ailments and whatnot. I don't know that with diet, that what our way of life.
No. Well, G. Michael, let me tell you, boy, I've had 4 surgeries in the past 5 years. And let me tell you, every time you take one surgery, you know, that like one complete physical examination is their hospital, do you know? And every time, my statistics now, the young boy statistics, you know, blood pressure, blood count, all of them things that like 17-year-old. So I thank God that although I am injured in my leg, right, my body works pretty good. So, you know, I thank God and, you know, I'm upbeat. You know, got no, but, you know, I think we have to start taking more care, better care of ourselves and what we eat. I mean, it's fortunate for the world, I think, that this guy, Robert Kennedy Jr., is going to be on the cabinet, Trump cabinet, because he will be in charge of nutrition and so on, and the cabinet to try to get people to use less sugar, be more slim and trim. You know, I think it will help us. This information that he will bring out through his work with his ministry and with his cabinet will filter down into Belize, and, you know, perhaps we will pick up some of those things. You know, the thing we will like the most, we might do is sugar. With sugar,
But we grew up on sugar. We grew up on sugar, Mr. Paul.
Right, sugar make you obese. Huh?
I think that input and output, because once you do the movement and exercise, because listen, I always tell people we grew up on fudge, tableta, cotterroot, one thing we call goat shit. We used to eat one thing named Rapadora, Mr. Paul. You remember Rapadora?
Oh, yeah, I remember
the brown sugar cake cup. We drink condensed milk, we eat it on bread. We suck it out of the pan. We drink it in with tea. So everything after every Sunday, you know, you got dessert. You got some kind of blamage or something where really sweet. So I don't know.
We used to eat a lot of plum.
But stew plum, not that about stew plum and stew soupa and things like that.
But we also used the plum by itself.
Yes.
We used to eat pepitos, peanuts, a lot of fruits, banana. So I think we had a pretty balanced diet. Even when we were young and don't know better, we eat a lot of cotterroot. Well, that's one of my favorites, crust and tableta. Right?
Okay, see?
You know, but
see, they talk about sugar again. But I think what happened, we used to walk at school. We used to do a lot of walking.
Yes, sir.
We got at school, we come back from school, we got at school again. I don't know how far you live, but I live up a road lane, and I'm gonna hold Redeemer. So
live far. Far.
Yeah.
And when I'm going to go to SJC, when SJC me just the full up, we used to walk from day 11:30 to King Street for lunch, you know.
Yeah.
11:30, and you have to get back by 1 o'clock.
Correct.
And every day, 3 times a day, I used to have to do that. So I'm fit.
Now, make we talk about the diaspora a little bit. you've heard about the vote. They wanted to vote, and even maybe run for office. How do you think we should deal with people who are in the diaspora? I mean, they're Belizeans. Would you be comfortable in allowing them to come home and run for office, or even vote in elections?
Ah, I think you have to think that out carefully because
Mhm.
you know, the possibilities, the opportunities for corrupting the voting system will be so much greater. I mean, we already have enough corruption in the voting system that we have, right? Now,
Mhm.
when you add on the electronic media that you will need, that you will use um, for to accommodate the diaspora, you know, I mean, it's a nice idea, but I think we should be careful. We should make we study
Might,
it carefully.
it would take a lot of effort, and I think you'll be on expense, at an expense also.
Also,
Uh,
not
yeah.
free. You know? So
As a former businessman, you ran a store for a number of years too, correct?
almost 20 years.
20 years.
Mhm.
I saw some rave reviews on our economy on the news this evening. Apparently, unemployment is down. More people are having more money. Inflation, and this one got to me. They say inflation is 0%. Is that make any sense to you?
No,
Are they
that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. And
not when you got a?
let me tell you, G. Michael, one of the reasons why I was happy that Trump won is because I think with the production of American oil, our gas price will go way down. And everybody when in a business knows that one of the main costs of doing business in Belize is transportation. And with how much I gas now? $16 a gallon.
Oh
I
boy,
mean,
oh boy.
I mean, it's we need to put that in half, man. And I think there's a
So
chance that with Trump opening the valves, the American oil valves, I think petrol, oil, right? Gas and kerosene.
let me somebody asked me a store me there. Was it at that same location all the time, or were you
One
at
place,
that
yeah.
point the iguana, right?
Iguana Street, yeah. Carney, Iguana, and Bocotora.
Right close to the Queen Square Market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that and Mr. Pa, you seem to Mr. Pa, the diaspora. Let me read this by this gentleman, right? And the diaspora sent $500,000 to Belize last year. So why are there so much restrictions on the diaspora when it comes to voting?
Well, I would say to put it quickly and succinctly, it will cost us a lot of money to implement that. Two, the the probabilities of corrupting even further the voting system will be increased dramatically.
But he'd have to
I,
show me where that $1 billion come from, because he said they sent $1 billion last year. Is that correct?
I don't know. That sounds like a lot of
Or
money.
$500 million. That, yeah, I
Instead
imagine.
of 500 million, boy, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know, that's a lot of money. But
Yeah.
you send money not for buy your way into citizenship, you send money to help your family, your relatives. Maybe you got children here, you got grandma, grandpa, a father, a mother, maybe you got a sick relative. So you know they buy your right to be a voter. But I mean, I
Well,
don't know.
somebody is suggesting that migrant voters have that they can vote, but the diaspora can't vote. But when she say migrant workers and voters, I imagine she means people who come in from other countries, and after a certain amount of years living in Belize, they're allowed to vote. Correct?
Yeah, well, we're not to talk about them primarily. I think we're to talk about people where live in the States, for instance, and who are still Belizeans, but send money or visit Belize often, send money every month or every week to their parents or children. I think we're talking about that. But, the migrant workers, um, I guess, can vote in local elections. They've always allowed residents of cities or towns to vote, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So
They
don't have to be a citizen to be a resident.
Yeah, that one touches subject all around, and I think I agree with you. I have to do more thinking about it and looking into it now. We certainly don't want to isolate our citizens in the or Belizeans in the diaspora. And I don't know about the 500 million, but I know there's a substantial amount of remittances that's sent to Belize. Yes, a lot of it is just sent to personal relatives and friends and what. And there's some people I find more people now are getting up and helping causes that they're not directly affiliated with, which is noble, which is good. But I'm with you in that I don't see where it's that big a deal to them even, because all we want is good governance from whoever is elected, and maybe what they could do is help us to demand that we get this good governance, this transparency, this accountability, because this, I think, is what is lacking in government, and not just specific person that you want to put in there. I want to go back with you to Trump, though, because you're getting a little trouble, because you know that most Belizeans were against Donald Trump. And even when you were saying that you thought he would win by a landslide, you obviously had your share of dissenters who weren't in agreement with you on that, right? But Donald Trump, I don't know, is he all that? Because you seem to think that he's a good candidate, would be a good president.
G. Michael, one of the things that I kept on telling my wife during the whole of this year, because when something would happen that seemed to be against the trend towards voting for Trump, she would get excited. I said, look, man, don't take everything you hear in the news, especially from the mainstream media, as genuine. The mainstream media is fake news. I'm firmly convinced that was the case. But when they kept on putting charge after charge against Trump, I kept on telling my wife, oh my God, they are really ensuring the election of this man. They are making him a martyr. They are making him a hero. There's no more impressive leader than a man or woman who is willing to die for what he believes. And that is what Trump became to his followers. He was made a martyr, and especially when they tried to kill him. And when the man got shot, he ducked down, holding his ear, and then he put up his fist. Fight! And that's a wave of excitement throughout his campaign. And
there were people. There are people who feel that it was staged, that it wasn't real, that Ali Ketchup come up with.
I've heard that appear. Well, people, it's not against politicians to stage that kind of thing, but you have to I don't think it was staged. I think it was real. I think, and there's still a danger because countries like Iran want to get rid of Trump, and they have said so. But you, Michael, boy, look, I mean, I have nothing, absolutely nothing to gain from saying what I said about Trump. I'm not a politician. I am not a businessman. I am not American.
It's just your conscience.
I'm completely and wholly Belizean. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going to America. I'm not going nowhere. I'm still right here, and I'm dead right here. I'm buried right here. So I have no reason. I have no reason to support Trump if it is not what I believe. And that's what I think, you know. And so
make we come back to Belize then. Make we come back to Belize. Let me throw a name out to you, Shine. What's your thoughts about Shine?
I know.
Now we got concern you? No.
Now it concern me. But you know, I think he needs to Michael, I know but about him because I don't want to, you know.
Do you think he needs to be humble? Because I've heard that said a lot about him.
I think, you know, he has impressive forebears. I mean, his father was the prime minister of Belize for 3 terms. His uncle is still one of my favorite persons.
But he's well spoken too.
Even when I left the UDP, I still like Finnegan, you know, and you know, I still regard him as one of the very outstanding leaders of the party, the UDP, when it began. But you know, I have other people that I still admire greatly. Like, I think Ken Tillett, the Tillett brothers. Ken, I think, was one of the greatest orators that I have ever heard in this life. And I heard some very good ones, like John F. Kennedy and Winston Churchill. Man, I rank Ken Tillett amongst those guys.
Better than Dean Barry, I think?
Oh, by far. Now, Dean's a good speaker, but I talk about orator. Ken was a great orator. Look, when we used to save him to talk last at every UDP meeting. And anytime that man talk, when he don't talk, everybody talk about how they have cold seed. Man and woman, you know, cold
Bring
seed.
down the house, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that guy, he was great. He was good. Pity he had to go back to the States to keep himself and his family fed, right? But he was a great orator. Not necessarily a great politician, but a great orator.
Yeah. How about Tracy Panton? You think she has enough leadership qualities to make her successful in a position there?
I think time will tell. Time may tell. You know, I don't want to I don't want to put anybody who's trying to go in politics. I don't want to put them in a corner.
But it's important. It's important to us, though. We they will represent eventually, and this country they'll be serving, no?
Michael, if when election time come round, invite me to your podcast, I will give you an opinion on all the candidates.
You will? We'll hold it to that, Mr. Paul. We certainly will.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. Don't you think that the way it is right now is that the service to the country and the voters to not have a viable opposition in place? Isn't it? It's against our democracy, isn't it?
Well, I think, you know, certainly you're right. It is time to start for the opposition party to try to get serious and start doing the things that will really impress people. I mean, division is not good. So I would I would encourage all the young people who are interested in leadership in the UDP to calm down and sit down and reason together. And when we started the UDP, man, that's what we did. We had guys who were bursting at the seams with ambition. Dean Lindo, Ken Tilly, Joe Andrews, but everybody restrained himself and we took our time, and finally the UDP got itself in a position where it became the government of the Belize, but it had to become united.
But see, not only that, you had material to work with when you call some of their names like that. Do you see material today? You see, I'm looking even on the horizon to see if anything that's coming up that might be their hope. I don't know. I mean, and the young people, are they taking enough interest in things like politics, which is a noble profession, really? Not exercising a noble way, certainly in Belize. But are we seeing the next generation being prepared to take over that very important position in society?
I think there are some, but they're on the other side, so I don't want to.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're on the other side. And one or two of them are family members, so, I don't want to get too excited.
You don't want to ruffle no feathers.
Ruffle feathers. But, I think, certainly we have potential on both sides, but, the younger people will learn from more wisdom.
Okay.
Now, look at the wiser guys,
Yeah. Let us look again at the Constitution. And you spoke of getting a new Constitution. I don't know how far they're going to go with this reform thing, but do you think we should reform? Does it need reforming?
Oh, certainly, but I think I've already indicated that I think that the preamble of our Constitution is the best. Chapter 2 needs a little touch here and that. Chapter 2, which is the chapter, needs a little touch here and there. But the rest of the Constitution having to do with actual governance, that needs a working over. One of the things that needs to be worked over is the representation of the People's Act. And I already somewhere else pointed out that one of the things that we have to insist in the representation of the People's Act is that upon election, every elected member of the House and Senate must submit a statement of assets.
But it's there, Mr. Park.
Month of election, huh?
That's there. That's in there, isn't it?
No. Yes and no. Let me finish the idea though. But add, okay, within 6 months, every elected member of the House and or Senate have to submit a statement of affairs. Then we have to add this, and this will have the influence of the ombudsman too, but continue along that same line. But if the member does not submit the statement of his affairs within 6 months, the chairman of the Integrity
With the Commission and
Integrity must submit the name to the ombudsman, and the ombudsman will take the matter from there, and the ombudsman will get after the member and give him a time, says, within 2 months or 3 months, you have to submit your statement. If you don't, I'm going to recommend to the House, say that the ombudsman that followed me did not realize that the power of the ombudsman is his ability to reach to the very source of all power, civil power in belief, governmental power. The ombudsman must report that representative or senator to the House, to the National Assembly, to the whole National Assembly, and the National Assembly will then instruct the member, given your report, or within 6 months' time, you will be removed from the Senate or from the House. So you see, you have to tighten the screws. Complete, a good idea, but it's not a complete idea. It needs to have bite.
Now,
The Ombudsman and the Integrity Commission some power, but he has to have bite. He has to have teeth.
but is the government willing to give that bite, that ability to bite and the teeth that they need? Does the ombudsman have power? And is it given the power by the government? Or is it just...
Well, the power of the ombudsman comes from the National Assembly. Well, then the ombudsman has to complain to the people and tell them, look, that man should be removed from his office. Government has not done that. Remember that when you go to the polls next time. Yeah, the ombudsman has to, but he has to be cautious and careful too, you know. Don't go threatening when you can't fulfill what you are threatening. So that is his power, to tell the people and to keep repeating it to the people if necessary. Look, I recommended to the government that they remove that man out of power.
Well, we get to something now that Joe is always talking about, the involvement of the people. Are the people involved enough to make things like this work? Because you could go to the people, but that they're not interested. They don't want to listen, Mr. Paul. So you have power, you know.
You keep on reminding them into election time. Look, we recommended that man, you don't vote for him again. He should have been out of the house long time. The Prime Minister never removed him, so blame the Prime Minister for that corruption and blame the minister, right? In a way, you know, the ombudsman has to become a powerful political figure too, you know. Not that he gets into party politics. He has to be he should be completely neutral in a partisan setting, right? You break the laws, Pop, I don't care who you are. PUP or UDP, you're going to pay the penalty.
Are you convinced that in your role as ombudsman, you did everything you could to be that neutral voice and force?
I think I tried, yes.
Yeah.
I think I did. You know, I mean, nobody is perfect.
But how were the challenges? Were the challenges big? Did you face objections to some of the moves that you try to make, or some of the things you try to bring to light?
Some of the problems, you know, the biggest problems that people in positions of authority, whether they're placed there or voted there, is in your own self, you know. The ombudsman has to be, well, like a politician, in the sense that he has to go around and interact with people and talk to people and tell them what he thinks about what's going on. And
get the pulse of the people, no?
write and do surveys and do papers, visit schools. And when I say visit schools, I never want to talk to no whole school, I visit class by class. And my annual reports are testimony to this. I published some of the quizzes that I gave different classes in different schools, high school, primary school, and he has to be active like a politician and, make himself known and make himself heard.
Tell me, have you, as a past ombudsman, been approached by any of these governments to say, well, listen, Mr. Paul, can you maybe give us some advice? Can you talk to this new person that we have coming in? Were you because we shared we share a few things in common. One thing is that I remember when government changed in 2008, you were the first person to go. I was the second. So have they ever come back and said, Mr. Paul, you did the job, you didn't do too badly at it. Would you mind to help this person that's coming in? Did they?
No, never. As a matter of fact, the incoming prime minister humiliated me, which was, I still kind of hold it against him personally, but I think that was a stupid thing to do, but, that's, sometimes you get carried away, with your own sense of, who became prime minister in 2008, right?
Dean Barry,
It's, I mean, I have no rancor, I feel no rancor against anybody, but, I think that's just stupid.
No, but you have a wealth of experience in a lot of different areas, and certainly you have much to offer, and knowing you would be more than willing to if you could. But and I think they should instead of just putting people out the pasture, pick their brains and try to get what they could from them that they have gotten through the experience.
I think so. I agree with that. But nobody has approached me to do anything like that. And this is why I'm glad G. Michael Reed has a podcast, because podcasts are great, man. Podcasts, when I saw Ramaswamy doing podcasts, I said, this is the answer to the fake news. You could still be your fake news, but the podcast will cut you down to size. And that's exactly what happened.
And there are a lot of them on out there, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many. There are a number of them that are very, very interesting. And instead of the TikTok and do engage in a foolishness, I think more people ought to go out there and seek the wisdom and the understanding, because it's there. It's just for the seeking, the effort that it's take, no?
And it comes from podcasts. Mostly.
You seem as impressed with podcasts as you are with Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, but podcasts, there are a lot of things in podcasts, other things that religion, why the number of Protestant, evangelical pastors that have become Catholic, and then they not only become Catholic, they want to be saints, you might know. And boy, that tells me something about the end time, That's telling me something about the end time. I wonder if we're not getting to the end time now.
Well, I was gonna.
I know one or two pastors have hundreds, and include people like Scott Hahn, Marcus Grody, Stephen Ray. All of these guys, they are powerful witnesses for Jesus Christ and for the gospel, right? These are big people who love all manner of people. They're not people who just love one denomination or the other. They love people, all Christian people. They want all Christian people to be one. Yeah, it's fantastic what's happening.
Are we in the end of times? Are we ready to get close, you think?
Why, G. Michael, if you had talked to me about a year or so ago about end time, I would listen to you because um, some of the guys I've listened to, mostly Protestant, biblical, their guys are smart and they know the Bible well. I'm very impressed by them. But end times, I said, no. Because even Jesus himself, remember, G. Michael, he said, look, when he was us, Lord, when is this? It's going to happen end time. He says, not even I know, only the Father in heaven knows. But let me tell you, be prepared. And he tell with the parable of the wise virgins. 10 of them, right? 5 not only had their lamp light lit already, but they carry extra oil. And so when the bridegroom come midnight, they may have the oil to still keep the lamp burning. The foolish ones, the oil done, and then the man got no more oil and couldn't greet the bridegroom. So, now you must be like the wise bridegroom. I mean, wise waiting girls,
Let me.
for when the bridegroom comes.
All right. Let me ruffle a few feathers because I tell you already we share a lot in common. We have things, and I agree with you on a lot of things. I admire you a lot. The religious part of it, though, you just quoted a part in the Bible that Jesus said, "Not even I know; only the Father knows." And also, there's a part in there that says when Jesus says the Father is greater than I. Where then do we get the idea that Jesus is God or Jesus is equal to God? And is that what your religion teaches you?
Well, G. Michael, in several places you not see the word Trinity, but you see what in effect is the Trinity. Jesus, for instance, said, the Father and I are one.
We have solid, liquid, and gas. I mean, we have solid, liquid, and gas. So that almost if you would say a physical equivalent. But I don't know. I think the only John he speaks of Jesus as the Son of God, when in fact Jesus himself always referred to him as the Son of Man. And if there's a sacrifice to be given, then no man commit the sin. So it will be his son. But
there are many places, I think it's hazardous to hang your belief from the scripture on only one scripture. But if you read the whole Bible, you'll see the idea of the Trinity is plain. But not ask me for name all day.
Yeah, we're not going. I just want
I'm not that
bring that up.
I'm not that kind of Christian or Bible reader. I know a lot about the Bible, but if you ask me where exactly can I find, I don't remember. I never studied the Bible.
And that's understandable. Well, for 8 years you were studying the priesthood. There was not the Bible a main part of that.
Oh yes, every day. Well, even now, G. Michael, a lot of people don't know this. The Bible, a part of the Bible, is read every day in a mass. You go anywhere in the world, every mass has reading from the Old Testament and the New Testament. Every mass, every single mass. So that in the period of 3 years, in a cycle of 3 years, every Catholic who goes to Mass every day will hear the whole Bible read. So if you go to Mass every day and you're a Catholic and you say you don't hear the Bible, well, then your father asleep. But the Bible is read at every single Mass every day.
Does it matter, Mr. Paul, if you're Catholic, Protestant, Anglican, Muslim? Are only Catholics going to heaven, you think, or the others might have a chance of sneaking in?
No, man, I know hold on to that belief, which is a wrong belief because the Catholic Church, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, says that everybody may be saved, can be saved, as long as you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, or you believe in God. You may not even have an exact idea of who God is or what God is, but you have an inkling of that you are not the only wise being in this world, that there is a being that is far wiser than you. Nature tells you this. Your own experience with other people tell you this. Say, no, man, this wisdom comes from somebody that is far, far wiser than me. And you have a lot of people like that, man, in the world. Good, and they're good people, better than me and you. And more kind, more charitable. I believe there are some Muslims who would give their life for you and me in certain circumstances. G. Michael, So, no, God will save everybody of goodwill who believes, look, there's something better in this universe than me, better than any experience that I've had, greater than any. I believe, that, and that is the kind of God that I believe in, that loves. God loves you, crazy over you, G. Michael, crazy over me. And the least bit I show that I am willing to bow to him and admire him and respect that there's something greater in this world, greater in this life than myself. That humility attracts God, makes God love you. That's what I believe. I believe a lot of people. I believe I will be surprised when I get there. I say, almost like where my friend tell me one day when they see me in Credit Union, I say, boy, Paul, you still alive? I think you don't dead.
Yeah.
You have that kind of experience. Say, boy, I never
You there?
think you are make it, but you there, boy.
But I was reading somewhere about this one we're gonna heaven but true, and I start to see when you see this one today and that one today, he said, God because of something. Who then there? I'm surprised all of them there. And God said, well, you know what? They're surprised too that you there. you were surprised.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah. So all the way you have to work with one chat for answer to, and all our whatever we did, whether it was good or bad, and imagine at some point they come back to us and say, well, you don't receive, you get paid or you don't have to pay, and I just hope that my bill not bigger than the amount I got in me, the amount for pay with, no.
G. Michael, Jesus said a saying, and he says it to all of us. And I think it pertains to all of us, and I want every single human being to adhere to that saying. It says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but suffer the loss of his immortal soul? That has been a guiding principle throughout my life and throughout my political life. And I tell you what, it don't mean that you're perfect, but it means that you know that there's something about me, there's something about you that is greater, far greater than the eye or mind, greater than the eye can see or the mind can conceive. That is you, and that will get from God, and that will make you God-like, and God wants to see you move to accept that part of you. Most of all, instead of trying to gather things onto yourself, which they don't care with you.
You said it already.
When they talk about possessions, right? Richness. A lot of rich people, better than me, they're more kind. They're more charitable. They're willing to give a last shot to another person. And then there are the kind of qualities the master.
But how do you reconcile the two of them, Mr. Paul? How do you that it's easier for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven how you go? It's easier for a camel to enter the eye than a rich man to enter heaven. And you're telling me that there's nothing wrong with being rich. Even Elon Musk, you're telling me that you admire Elon Musk with all the money he got, and
What
yet with all the poverty that exists, though. How do you reconcile the two sides?
if I may correctly how I said it to you, you may be rich as Croesus, right? The king Croesus had all the gold in the world, but you always look out for the person who needs. That is pleasing to God. And you may still keep a lot of your wealth because you need to keep it to run your kingdom, to feed your family, to do good for people who will come to you. I mean, we don't know everybody else that is living here in the world today. And but it'll be surprising to you, Michael, the number of people who are rich, but they're the most charitable people you will ever want to meet.
Would
I
would
mean,
they still be rich if you mean they just keep getting more and when they give they get back?
with some people that's say happen. They just give and give and give.
But how much do you need to live? I don't think God will give more than you need though. Not not,
Well,
not in excess. Is it that there's so many people who don't deserve? Because if you get where you deserve, you don't have to say them one minute to get it, not deserve it then.
no, I don't think that's how it works. Maybe that's how it works, but I don't think that's how it works. I think it works more like this, that if you give everybody part of your money, Michael, when you go back there next week, all of that money gone, And when they got to show for it, nothing. Can pass it out.
Well, yeah, there are some people, yeah.
So even when you give, when you're very rich and you give, you try to give people in the measure that you think they can
Handle.
take and then share, take and share with other people, I think.
Yeah.
So God also makes some very rich people very wise and very discerning, I think, I mean, I think you're a very wise man, and I think I have a little wisdom, and God will make fools.
I have absolutely no doubt that God exists and that there's something greater than us. I have some questions and issues with the overall narrative that is put forth, and I think maybe more of us need to question it more. I don't think it's a sin for question.
No, of course.
Some things that they don't make sense, So
Mm-hmm.
we're like that. Though we never really talk religion to no length because religion is a subjective thing. Everybody may believe, and again, you said that right of conscience, no? You do
Yeah.
what you want to do, you believe what you want to believe in. And so once we keep searching, because we never reach the end of that road there, you know what I mean? You're always searching to see how best you can fill that void of understanding that exists there. My thoughts only. The young people, because you see the young people, the way they're acting, the way they're dressing, the way they're carrying themselves, even the music that they listen to. Um, do you have much hope that they'll be all right, that they'll be able to meet the challenges that are getting ready to face them in this world?
Boy, big question, Michael. I know. Sometimes I wonder, like you. I wonder. They are young people. They're only interested in shake up themselves, and shake up them body. I wonder if really they have sit down sometimes and put two feelings together and come up with a thought. But I don't know, and I think the best attitude I try to cultivate is to have an open mind. And when I come in contact with young people, try to be upbeat with them and be nice, praise them up, and encourage them if I can, if opportunity offers. And but quietly pray for those everybody will meet, and now and again, if you're fortunate enough to have a young person ask your opinion, you give your opinion short and sweet, not preachy, short and sweet opinion, and one of the things that I practice doing I want to know people's name, especially young people. I want to know them, I want to call them their name, so that when I meet them next time, I say, "Oh, John, why? Where you going? Where your mommy? Where your daddy?" And really try to become friends with young people. And I think that's good for me. And hopefully, they.
I'm sure it's good for them too, no? If they will listen to whatever advice you have to give. Is the curriculum in our schools adequate enough, and are the teachers dedicated enough to pass on the knowledge to these young people that they need?
Why you ask some tough questions, G. Michael? But thank God, I've been there too. I was a teacher several times in my life, and why? Teaching a fantastic profession, G. Michael. If I could, I'd go back to teaching any day, But I like teach literature. You know why I like literature? Because literature, that the sayings, the writings of some of the wisest people who have ever lived this life, and to get young people to appreciate that. One of the experiences in my life was to teach literature, well, English at St. Ignatius School, and they gave me by all the troublesome students, standard 4, 5, and 6. Michael, I tell you, 49 of them in one class. A lot of big. I tell you what, because I was schooled in literature, reading, the first day I had those kids eating bread out of my hands. Completely disciplined, completely tuned in to what I was saying. But one of the stories that I told them from the very start was Les Miserables. The story of Les Miserables. That's Victor Hugo's, which Frantz Fanon translated into The Wretched of the Earth. The story of a man who became a terrible, terrible human being, killer, because of the mistreatment by the laws of the land, France, and the punishments that he had to suffer when he broke those cruel, broke the cruelty in the prison punishment. Anyhow, but the story is about the conversion of this cruel, very dehumanized human being who had become cruel, kill you. If you go for your bed and you resist, lap you down and kill you. So, Les Miserables, and boy, the kids, and his conversion, right? And his conversion is a great story. If you haven't read the story, you must read it one of these days. Les Miserables. Les Miserables. Miserables. Written by Victor Hugo. To me, it's the greatest novel ever written.
They had a play by that name, didn't it?
Yes. It has been made into a film many times.
No.
But also into an opera.
So it caught their attention and you get their trust and whatnot.
Ooh, boy.
And it was easier going forward.
Yeah, yes. But you see, to be a good teacher, you have to try to be interesting. Yeah? Interesting, first of all, as a person. And you're interesting as a person if you show that you care about the people that you're addressing, that you're talking to, you know. That's primary. If the kids see that when you look at them, you turn up your nose, like you smell bad thing, they'll turn off at you quick time. And they'll give you trouble on top of trouble.
Right. How's the wife doing?
She's doing well, thank God.
Wonderful. Please give her my regards, Mr. Paul.
Okay.
And I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for me. I'm telling you. One thing before we go under the Christmas season, of course, I see a tree is up in the background there, looking good. But the large amount of traffic accidents, Mr. Paul, and the drunk driving and the motorcycles that are like 2 a week, then the drop. I mean, it's awful, man. Where you think they're going?
Why, G. Michael, make I tell you something. My son-in-law was telling me about the motorcycle accidents, and I advised him. I said, Carlos, put that letter. We're just 10 minutes. Shorten it, make it brief and sweet, and put it on your Facebook. Put it on the
social media.
The social media. He spoke of the excitement. He can ride a motorcycle. He said, Dad, the excitement of riding a motorcycle, it is something that gets your adrenaline pumping like crazy. And the faster you go, the more your adrenaline pump. That thing is a high. And he says, that is what is happening. And you know what? What we need to do is to tell the people who train to give licenses to motorcycles to do a thorough job. They aren't doing a good job. They're not training these guys how to ride a motorcycle responsibly. But Carlos, I'm asking to send you this message that he'd like to give to the Commissioner of Police and the people who prepare young men to get licenses to ride motorcycles. What he said made so much sense to me because I watched the way the guys ride a motorcycle, even by Belize and by streets, Belize city streets. They're just wild, man, crazy. We in and out anywhere, wanting to rush.
Yeah, I used to ride a bike. Well, I owned a bike myself.
I remember.
Yeah, and I remember when I first got it, a gentleman, a veteran rider, said to me, young man, you'll be 10 times more fun than you ever imagined, but 100 times more dangerous. So be careful. And it stayed with me, and I didn't do that kind of craziness. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I love the song of the motorcycle. I don't like the song that I'm hearing now with these fools with Tampa the muffler. And you hear it every minute. You can't have conversation.
They really get by your nerves.
I'm serious, and it should be illegal. It is illegal because it disturbs the peace, and something should be done. Mr. Paul, I want to thank you very, very much. Again, I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for me, because I thoroughly enjoyed these 2 hours sitting and chatting with you, sir. It's 2 hours already. That you in your house and at my house, and we just gotten this at the podcast thing that you're talking about. Fabulous, amazing, right?
Okay, G. Michael, bye. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you, a blessed holiday, and all the best going forward, right?
God God
That,
bless.
and as Pauline drive past the park, man, we just add some new things in there. It's looking
Okay.
very good, right?
Good, man.
So, and
Merry
we're having
Christmas.
yeah, man. I know
Yeah.
Christmas party, people, on
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday, December the 22nd. Stop in there, bring the kids, and have a good time. See why? We're out of here, Mr. Paul. Blessings,
Yeah,
my
man.
brother. Yeah, man.
Merry Christmas.
Yo, respect until the man smoke it on. Once a body, international. Oh, here we go. Me and me body with the comfy setting. Respect you, all beliefs and prophets. Yeah, yo, yo. We know this seek no static. You da gunman, me after the bag, no fi stop it. We ball again. Me and me jet with the comfy setting. Respect you. Hi, hey, hi. We know they see no static, and if you da gunman, please stop it. You have Lord Raven, Kenny Morgan, Papa Curly that they chase the boy named Sam Master Lee, Chico and Cotton Brown, game love, everybody run town. See when them youth decide to build a song, the concrete foundation so that they can't fall down. Some young shots in the big fish get green, and the beat. Check on the teacher when them draw down the slate. Pay attention now, the tune so intricate. Wicked style, no food duplicate. Me and me jet with the comfy setting. Respect you. Well, ladies, this one's for you. I want to grab some more ways. Grab your beliefs and flat. Grab your brassiere. Grab your panty. Grab anything. Wheel. 1, 2, 3, I don't have to meet it sooner. Just like a peasant to this one. Anytime we see you, the temperature rise. Just have to meet it sooner. Just like a peasant to this one. Anytime we see you, the temperature rise. Them call me up from a call me left fight. To the left, me to the right. Morning, noon, and night. Just fit fight. Whether I green, whether I try, whether I blue, whether I tight, whether I black, brown, yellow, green, or even white. Really don't know right. No man this, I don't know them like. Come and take you to higher. Y'all don't have this meeting sooner. Just like a peasant to this man. Anytime we see you, the temperature rise. Just have this meeting sooner. Just like a peasant to this man. Anytime we see you, the temperature rise. I'll take y'all for my line. Most of my friends, they call me Joe Grind. I want you to take this song at that time. And why no fight take it? Check the dime, satisfy your soul, body and mind. With a thing to we make out that fine. The way we mind, hard to see y'all from a line. Most of my friends, they call me Joe Grind. I want you to take this song at that time. And why no fight take it? Check the dime, satisfy your soul, body and mind. With a thing to we make out that fine. The way we mind, the thing pile up. Real, with a Creole, but we no normal. With a coffee and we royal. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. We coulda holla say me ugly, but a loon pretty girl stay to chase me. Royal coffee and my style sticky like taffy. How could you call me ugly when a loon pretty girl stay to chase me? Minor, tell you things we make you catch feelings. Your mere existence, you want left to examine. Ebenezer me gone, me know for squeeze dumpling. Believe woman, sweet like stew pumpkin. See me, but you don't know me. Confident, say that me bossy. Inquisitive, you call me nosy. Defend me rights, holler at me chancy. Me know this show no mercy, we don't take no back chat from nobody. You don't have feel like me, but you must respect me. Tell this more. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. We coulda holla say me ugly, but a lone pretty girl stay to chase me. Me cool and deadly. Machine gun Kelly. Machiavelli. Stay ready like Freddy. We have woman plenty. Woman the city, woman the country. You coulda act like you no want believe me. Ask Dwight, that me Bali. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like taffy. We coulda holla say me ugly, but a lone pretty girl stay to chase me. Royal coffee, and my style sticky like taffy. How could you call me ugly when a lone pretty girl stay to chase me? Lot of sexy woman come out of the valley. Me like the way the body move when them the party. Anna Piss White and Alta Leslie. And the one name Gilda Courtney. Dano Jam, Sadamus Jelly from me Lille. Me know where to do with me till it. Me grow up as a bedroom bully. Bucket with vein full up them belly. I am a royal coffee. My style sticky like toffee. They woulda holla say me ugly, but a lone pretty girl steady chase me. Royal coffee, and my style sticky